Hello and welcome to the View from Sibos video series, filmed here on location in Toronto. I'm Joy Macknight, Deputy Editor at The Banker, and I'm joined by Marc Bayle de Jessé, who's Head of Directorate General Market Infrastructure and Payments at the European Central Bank. Thanks so much for joining us, Marc.
Welcome, good morning.
So TARGET2 Securities, the last wave went live in September. Did it really live up to the hype ahead of time, and then also what benefits does it really bring to market participants?
So yes, we are very happy. It has been delivered on time. Now the migration is final, so we can move on the next stage, which is really to deliver the whole benefit to the market. It's basically integrating all the settlements in one place for all Europe, and that's very good because we have the basis to build this domestic market infrastructure that we need to have a good functioning market infrastructure. So it brings benefit in many directions, but maybe a couple main one. First, we have harmonized all processes, so there is one single process to settle transactions in central bank money, so safety. We have the capacity to move collateral very easily, and also the fact that there is one settlement engine for euro simplify the funding of this, because you have only to settle one engine and not many of them. So yes, more than 20 engine has been replaced by one, so it's a good news for Europe, yes.
Okay, and there's also the target services that are going to come out. Can you explain a little bit more about those?
Yeah, so integrating functionalities is not only integrating Europe in one big domestic market, but also bringing together the different services in central bank money we are providing. So we felt it was important to give a brand name which can allow us to explain this more easily. So target services will be the commonalities of services, amongst which we will have T2S delivering securities services. We will have TIPS delivering instant payment services, and we will have also TARGET2 delivering wholesale payment RTGS processes. So by this, we want to make as integrated as possible the management of liquidity in Europe. So we will have a central liquidity management function who will emerge, and we will help the banks to be very efficient in their liquidity management.
Okay, and you mentioned real-time payments, the move to instant payments. Obviously, there's also the PSD2, Payment Services Directive 2, that's coming into play in January. What will the future payments infrastructure look like?
Yeah, so our infrastructure is the one we put forward for central bank money with tips for instant payments, which will be derived a bit from the PSD2 new context which is coming up. The PSD2 is bringing new features, is allowing also to better understand the different actors in the market. So the bank, the non-banks who are providing services in the field of payment, and to organize this in a safe manner. So there will be a two-step approach. First the directive itself, then the regulatory standards, and then we'll have a safe environment to deliver payment services in Europe, and the ECB will be doing its part by delivering tips, yes.
Excellent. And harmonization, which is what you're all trying to pull together, obviously is a big part of the European agenda, but at the same time there's things like Brexit or even the Catalonia move for independence. You know, sort of what needs to be done more to really have that market integration?
Yeah. So market integration is understanding each other, discussing to understand each other. We have created contact group with the market, we call AMI, like it's friend in French. So advisory market infrastructure groups for payment and securities and collateral, which allow us to define harmonization agenda and to move together to have the same way of paying, the same way of transacting, the same way of structuring our accounts. And this is the agenda we have pursued with T2S, with TARGET2, and that we will continue to do with the different transactions that we have to do in central bank money. This is done in association, in a partnership with the banks, the market participants, the FMI, so the clearinghouses, the CSDs, the CCPs, and as well with the central bank and the authorities. So really we can go in one direction together with the effort of the Commission by doing reforms on the regulatory side, by taking also on board ESMA and the securities regulators, which are coming also in. So all this is coming together in a harmonized framework to deliver a better Europe to the citizen in the end, yes.
Okay, and my last question is around, you chaired a session that really looked at how market infrastructures can learn from each other around the cybersecurity threat. What were the main points in that session? Yeah,
it's very interesting. Cybersecurity is changing our notion of business continuity and our capacity to resolve difficulties in the running of our systems. So it's new challenges, and we have to think a bit differently. So we are extremely good to defend ourselves as a central bank for our systems. We are quite good also to restart on operational challenges. So we have business continuity processes who are quite strong. Now we have to think what are the new threats coming from cyber. And two main points are coming from cyber which are different from the other difficulty we have. The first one is we need to be able to share information in a trustful environment. So we need to have at a very high level of institutions, FMI, central banks, regulators, key stakeholders, CSPs, critical service providers, the capacity to exchange information swiftly, so very quickly, in a format which we can understand so that we can act quickly against those attacks, which are more and more structured and sophisticated. So that's one big first aspect we need to do. The second one is to see how strong and resilient we can be to restart services when we have been somehow hacked and how to react there. The particularity of cyber attack is that it does not impede you to continue to run. So you have to decide whether you have to stop to run or not and whether you have alternative to restart and how in a safe and trustful environment. So here again, collaboration is very important. Collaboration with different business lines, with different type of entities, and to have the whole ecosystem together. Because we see that the weakest point of our systems is the weakest, make the general, let's say, weakness of our system. We have seen that in the various attacks. So we have to be working together in collaboration on those topics, and that's a challenge, but we are taking it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Marc. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you, Joy. It's a pleasure.